Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're gonna deep dive into, well, some stuff Trump's been saying
Oh,
lately.
yeah.
It's about trade and tariffs, and honestly, it could mean big changes for the economy and even like politics. I bet you're here because you want to know what Trump's economic plans could actually do, with everyone having such strong opinions.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of buzz about this.
So we've got two sources for this deep dive. First, an Associated Press article kind of lays out the basic news.
Okay.
And then to see what people are thinking, we've got this crazy Reddit thread.
Ooh, always good for some hot takes.
Okay, so first up, Trump's talking tariffs again. Like he wants a 25% tariff on everything coming in from Mexico and Canada.
Wow, 25%, that's a lot.
Right. He's saying it's all about, stopping illegal immigration and drugs coming across the border, especially fentanyl.
It's interesting. This link between tariffs and, like, immigration makes you wonder if tariffs actually work that way. Sometimes they kind of backfire and hurt the exact people they're supposed to help.
Yeah, true. Like you try fixing one problem and end up making a whole mess somewhere else.
Exactly.
And it's not just Mexico and Canada. He's looking at China, too. More tariffs to try and stop fentanyl production there. He keeps saying these tariffs are going to make America rich, level the playing field for trade. But here's the thing. Remember how back in the campaign, Trump was all about lower inflation?
Yeah.
Well, now he's saying he, quote, can't guarantee anything about prices going up with these tariffs.
So a bit of a change there. And I bet that's why people are reacting so strongly. You can really see it in that Reddit thread. It's like everyone's trying to figure out, okay, what does this mean for me, for my wallet?
Oh, yeah. It's a total mix of opinions. Some people are all for it, but tons are worried about, like, paying more for everything, especially food and gas and just groceries, the essential.
Yeah, cost of living is already stressful for so many people. The idea of tariffs making things even worse, I mean, who wouldn't be worried?
There's this one comment really stuck with me. Someone said they were thinking of just, like, giving up on buying stuff from stores altogether, grow their own food, stockpile supplies, basically just avoid the whole price increase thing.
No, that's pretty drastic. But I guess it shows how seriously some people are taking this, willing to make big changes. Makes you think about, like, what about people who can't just switch to that kind of lifestyle?
Right, for sure. Okay, so we've got Trump's tariff plan. And we've got people reacting, all over the place. But, like, zoom out. What's the big picture?
Well, a lot of economists are saying these tariffs will probably mean higher prices for consumers, no matter what Trump claims. And they're saying it could hurt manufacturing, could even mean job losses.
Yeah, that makes sense. If companies got to pay more for stuff, they're going to pass that cost on to us.
It's a chain reaction.
And then what if other countries hit back with their own tariffs? Like, what if Mexico and Canada do the same thing to us?
Yeah, we could end up in a trade war. And nobody wins those. Everyone just ends up paying more.
So it's not just higher prices. It's like this domino effect that could mess up, like, the whole global market.
Exactly. And, it actually connects to something we were talking about earlier. Trump's tariff thing might seem totally separate from, say, what he said about Ukraine. But it all goes back to this America First idea.
Yeah.
He wants to use, like, economic tools to get what he wants globally.
Yeah.
But that can cause friction, with everyone, allies and rivals.
So it's kind of like a high-stakes poker game, but with the world's economy on the table. Okay, we've talked about the money stuff, but Trump's been in the news for some other strong statements, too. Like what he said about going after political rivals and maybe even pardoning people involved in the Capitol riot.
Oh, yeah, it's a whole other can of worms.
It's confusing, right? He says he doesn't want revenge, but then he's saying some people should go to jail. It's like mixed messages.
It's definitely raising some eyebrows, especially with the Democrats. They're worried about, politically motivated prosecutions.
Yeah, especially with Trump's history, Remember all those lock-her-up chants?
Definitely brings up some valid concerns, especially after, how Trump has used lawsuits against people he sees as enemies in the past.
And there's this quote from the article. It sums it up perfectly. Talking about prosecuting opponents, Trump said, "I have the absolute right, but I'm not interested in that." Like he's saying, hey, I could, but I won't.
Yeah, it's vague, keeps everyone guessing, creates this, like, atmosphere of uncertainty, maybe even fear.
Totally. Okay, let's talk about immigration, another hot topic. Trump's talking about acting fast, sealing the U.S.-Mexico border, more deportations, even maybe challenging birthright citizenship.
Wow, those are some big promises.
Yeah, big changes. But then, to kind of switch gears for a sec, he's also said his administration won't touch Social Security. No cuts, no raising the retirement age, nothing.
Interesting. I mean, with all the talk about Social Security's future, that's a pretty strong statement.
Okay, now let's go global. Trump said he supports NATO, but only if other countries pay more for defense.
So back to that America First thing. He's basically saying, you got to contribute more if you want our help.
Right. And then things are kind of unclear with Ukraine. He's hinted at maybe cutting U.S. aid, and that's made Ukraine and their allies pretty nervous.
Yeah, how much the U.S. helps Ukraine? That has huge consequences globally. Trump being vague about it just makes things more unpredictable.
And Putin. First, Trump said they hadn't spoken since the election. Then he kind of walked it back, saying he hadn't spoken to him recently, that he didn't want to mess up negotiations.
So more vagueness. It makes you wonder, what's really going on with Russia?
Yeah, a lot of people are trying to figure that out. Okay, we've covered a lot already, from tariffs and trade wars to, like, political drama and global uncertainty.
Oh, yeah.
But stick with us. We're going to dive even deeper in part 2. We'll look at what all this could actually mean for you, for the country, for the whole world. See you soon.
You know, with this whole America First thing, we got to remember, it's not just about the economy. It's how he sees immigration, too.
Yeah, true. We were starting to get into that before, like Trump's talking some serious action on immigration, sealing the border, more deportations, even like messing with birthright citizenship. Can he even do that?
Well, first let's break down what some of that stuff even means. Like when he says sealing the border, he's talking way more security on the U.S.-Mexico border, right? Like maybe more walls, more cameras, more border patrol, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, and that goes with him saying he'll ramp up deportations too, right? But can he do that? Like, easily?
Deportations, they're tricky. You got to find people, arrest them, go through all the legal stuff, and then get them out of the country. It's a whole thing. Like, it takes a ton of people, money, and everyone working together. It's not a quick fix.
And what about birthright citizenship? That sounds like a huge fight waiting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, birthright citizenship, that's like in the Constitution, the 14th Amendment. Anyone born in the U.S. is a citizen, period. If you challenge that, well, you're looking at a massive legal battle, probably all the way to the Supreme Court. A ton of people would be against it. It would be a whole national debate.
So basically, a lot of these immigration plans, they sound good on paper, but actually doing them, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, lots of legal stuff, practical problems, and like tons of controversy. It's not easy.
Okay, let's move on. Talk about NATO for a bit. Trump said he'll support NATO, but only if other countries pay more for defense. What's the deal with that?
All right, so NATO, that's the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's like a big team formed after World War II to protect each other. Basically, if one country gets attacked, everyone else jumps in to help.
Okay, so like a big alliance.
Exactly. And Trump's been saying for a while now that a lot of NATO countries aren't paying their fair share. Like, the U.S. is carrying too much of the weight. He wants everyone to spend 2% of their GDP on defense, which a lot of them are doing right now.
So he's using money to try and make NATO do what he wants.
Yeah, putting on the pressure. But it's risky. If he pushes too hard, it could actually weaken NATO. And that's bad for everyone, makes the whole world less safe. It's a tough situation.
And it seems like this America First idea goes way beyond just NATO. Like, earlier we were talking about how much the U.S. is helping Ukraine fight off Russia, and things seem kind of iffy there.
Right, and this is where it gets complicated. Trump's hinting that he might cut back on how much the U.S. is helping Ukraine, and that's made Ukraine and their allies pretty worried. He's saying that Europe should be doing more because they're closer. You know, geographically, it's more their problem.
But if the U.S. backs off, wouldn't that, like, make Russia think they can get away with more stuff? Make things even less stable?
Yeah, that's a big concern. It could make the U.S. look weak, and then Russia might get bolder and, like, start doing even more aggressive stuff. And then you've got other countries, like China, who might try to step in and take advantage. It's a whole mess.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. And then there's the whole Putin thing. Trump was unclear about if they'd even talked since the election. First he said no, then he said not recently. What's up with that?
Right. It just raises more questions like, what's he really planning with Russia? Some people think he's trying to be friends with Putin's again, but others are worried he'll give Russia too much, hurt the U.S. in the process.
So no one really knows what he's up to. It's all this guesswork. And, like, international politics are already complicated enough. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how Trump wants to change things, both here in the U.S. and around the world. But before we get into what all that might mean, like the consequences, let's look at something a little closer to home, something that might actually be good news for some people listening. With all this talk about tariffs and trade and everything, Trump made one thing super clear. He's leaving Social Security alone. No cuts, no changing the retirement age, nothing. Why do you think he's doing that?
Well, Social Security is really popular, especially with older people. And older people, well, they're a big part of the people who vote for Trump. So saying he'll protect Social Security, that's a good way to keep them happy, keep them voting for him.
So even with all this craziness, at least retirees can relax knowing their Social Security checks won't change. But what about the rest of us? How's all this going to hit our everyday lives? What about our wallets, our jobs, the future of the country? We'll be right back. We've got a lot more to discuss. All right, so we're back, and let's talk about what all this stuff could actually mean. Like, what's the fallout? What does it mean for, regular people?
Well, if we start with tariffs, remember that Reddit thread, how everyone was freaking out about prices going up?
Yeah.
Well, the economists, they're saying the same thing. These tariffs, they're probably going to make everything more expensive. Groceries, gas, even like your streaming subscriptions could go up.
So basically, those tariffs could hit us right where it hurts, our wallets.
Exactly. And it's not just about individuals. When everything costs more, you get inflation, and that messes up the whole economy. Like, businesses can't keep up, people lose their jobs, maybe even a recession. Who knows?
So it's not just like, oh, my milk's $1 more. It's way bigger than that.
Yeah, way better.
And then we've got all this political stuff. Trump talking about, going after his rivals, maybe pardoning those Capitol riot people. That just makes everything feel even more uncertain.
It definitely makes you wonder, like, what about the law? What about fairness? Is the justice system just going to be a tool for politics?
And it feels like things are already so divided in the country. This doesn't help.
Totally. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire,
And then zooming out to the world, there's Trump and his whole America First thing, how he's dealing with NATO, Ukraine, even talking to Putin.
Yeah, it's like he wants to change all the rules, but no one knows if it'll work or what'll happen because of it.
Could be good, could be bad, who knows?
Exactly. We could see countries changing sides, more fighting. The whole world could get less stable. Everyone's watching to see what he does next.
It's a lot. So basically, we end this deep dive with more questions than answers. But hey, at least you've got some stuff to think about now.
Hopefully.
We've gone over a lot, like how tariffs might mess with the economy, what Trump's saying those political things could mean, and all the uncertainty with how he's dealing with other countries. So one last thought. We talked about how this could affect you, your money, your job, your safety even. But think bigger. What could all this mean for America, like in the future? What kind of country are we becoming?
A good question.
Yeah. So keep thinking about it, stay informed, talk to people about it. The future of the country and where we fit in the world, that's up to all of us. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.